Let's bring on Kevin O'Connor in studio. Our friend the Ringer's covered the NBA for a long time. We love his work. I may be overstating it, but one of the reasons I like Chris Paul to the Warriors, A, it gives them a little different stylistic, a little pick and roll, which they don't really do. But the second thing is there was such a gap in efficiency between the Curry Warriors and he hits the bench and the Poole Warriors. I think the Warriors said, if we could just be plus minus is flat, just not lose leads, we'll be good. That was my takeaway. So did you like it or not?
I think with Chris Paul, you like it when Steph's not on the floor. I mean, he's going to be able to provide those minutes you're talking about when that Jordan Poole just couldn't grow into the playmaker that they needed. But now you bring on Chris Paul, he can stabilize those bench units. The question's going to be, though, Colin, how do they operate together? When Chris Paul and Stephen Curry are inevitably sharing the floor with a Draymond Green, assuming he does re-sign there, how does Chris Paul adapt more than he's ever had to? When he was in Oklahoma City, it was a multi-ball handler offense, but those are young guards he was sharing the floor with. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Dennis Schroeder on those OKC teams. With the Houston Rockets, James Harden was at the peak of his powers, and that was more of a your turn, my turn situation.
What didn't work, yeah.
Yes, and how is he going to be now in the Warriors with all their motion, with potentially two non-shooters with Draymond and then Kevon Looney? So I just look forward to seeing how Chris Paul's utilized. I wonder if Steve Kerr potentially even uses him in a the Draymond style role, dribble handoffs, at the elbow area, near the wing, and creating open shot opportunities for Steph and Clay from that area of the floor. But then that raises the question: what does that mean for Draymond's role?
Saw a story this morning. Zach Lowe, popular podcaster, NBA guy, on Kawhi Leonard. And the Clippers are reticent, very reluctant to give Kawhi an extension. And Paul George has injuries too. But my sources have always said Paul's good in the building, Paul communicates, Paul feels terrible when he misses. The issue with Kawhi has been he may call up at 3:45 and say, I don't feel good. It puts Ty Lue in under a lot of strain. It's tough on teammates. He's nonverbal. So even though you could say Kawhi is better, I think Paul George is better for the community of the Clippers. I would re-sign him. I think in the NFL, you move off certain people. Like you could give Antonio Brown a second chance, not a third, fourth, fifth. Kyrie will get a third, fourth, fifth, sixth. I would not re-sign Kawhi. I think there's a market. It's kind of small. But I've said this. It's weird to say, but I think the franchise is a bit held hostage by him. Is that too hyperbolic?
I mean, I think with Kawhi, he's just difficult. There was the podcast with Jerry West and Paul George where he's like, you guys are always hurt. Are we cursed? He's saying it right to Paul George's face. So I think with Kawhi, it's all of these things together. It's not just that he misses games. It's not just that he's difficult. It's all of these things together that factor into the Clippers having this difficult situation. And that's why there is that need for Russell Westbrook last year as a stabilizer. Granted, Russ has his deficiencies as a player at this point of his career, and he always has for that matter, but they needed a guy who's always going to be there. That's why they're going for these guards, somebody who can help facilitate and run the offense on a night-to-night basis. So I think for the Clippers, it's at a point now where you hear all the Paul George trade rumors leading up to the draft, including with Portland for number 3. There just hasn't been a match for him in a trade. But even if you were to move Paul George, I don't think that necessarily means that you're fully committed to Kawhi Leonard in the years to come, considering his age and all those things you're talking about. Part of me wonders if, with all of this noise, everything we're hearing about the Clippers that you're hearing, this trade stuff that's out there, if they want to open up this new stadium with actually just a young team and just have a bright future rather than this old team that's never going to make it.
So that was why I thought a Blazers-Clippers trade was viable. Mm-hmm. We'll take one of the injured guys. We'll give you Anthony Simons.
Yeah.
You can open a building with a Scoot Henderson or an Anthony Simons. It's hard to open a building when you're not sure if your Broadway show is going to be available or its backups.
Every Clippers fan I know has no hope. That's the place they're in right now. And that's the worst place you can be as a fan base, is having no hope for where you are today and where you're going in the future. So I think for Ballmer, I'm sure he must feel similarly after everything that's happened ever since they got Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. How do you build a team that gives your fan base hope, especially when you're opening a new arena that's supposed to be state-of-the-art and you have this wall and you want fans to be crazy and loud and have fun? That's what it was like for the year prior to Kawhi and Paul George with that young team that was up and coming. So how do you How do you restore that and still have hopes of winning a championship someday? That's the challenge.
So I took a lot of heat, J-Mac. I don't know if you noticed this. I was told by the staff I took a lot of heat for my Austin Reeves take. So in personnel, both pro football and pro basketball, the longer a player stays in college, the sense is the closer they are to their ceiling. So if you take Victor Wembanyama out, he's got a ways to grow. If a guy's been in college, kind of classic Villanova guy, they go to college for 4 years, they can get better, but you kind of know at 22, 23 what they are. So Austin Reeves, he stays in college a while. He's really close to his ceiling. Now he's a good player, initiates contact. He's not a dead-eye shooter, not great off the ball all the time, though good against Denver. He's not really a classic ball handler that elevates other, low assist rate. But he's a good player. I'd love to have him, a combo guard. LeBron appears to like playing with him. But yesterday I read a story where people said, the story Mark Stein says, there could be discomfort with the salary cap. They're going to outbid everybody. And I said, do they love him because they found him? You find the garage band before your friends, you make it the Doors, right? It's the Beatles. It's a garage band. It's fun. When you discover something, the garage sale theory, right? You find something, you elevate it beyond what it is. I like Austin Reeves, but he's 3 to 4 years older than other young players. He's relatively close to his ceiling, and his ceiling is 10 points and 2.5 assists. That was met by outrage. I think he's a 4 starter on a really high-end team.
He's better than that, Colin.
Well, what is he?
He's better than that.
Isn't he Mac McClung?
No,
but bigger.
He is so much
crazy.
He is so much better than Mac McClung.
What is he?
Just look at the second half of the season with the Lakers after they got rid of Russell Westbrook and opened up minutes for Austin Reeves to embrace these consistent opportunities. He's averaging, 15 plus, points per game, almost 20 at certain stretches. And I think I understand your point about his age, right? He is older for a young player considering how long
in this league, he's an old early player.
Development is never linear for all young players. For Austin Reeves, he was a late bloomer in high school, a late bloomer in college, and actually a pretty early bloomer in the NBA. I mean, he was better sooner than people expected. But now at this point, he's entering free agency. There's a reason why teams are saying, okay, we'll give him $105 million over 4 years because they think he's worth the shot.
Okay. So I acknowledge I'm saying Mac McClung because it makes me laugh and it's obnoxious. I will admit that. Although Mac can really dunk.
He can.
Okay, but his career is 10. Now I talked to a friend last night. He was giving me crap. I said I could see him being a 16.5 point a game, 3.5 assist guy who's a willing defender, but he's not a 2 or a 1. It's like a Malcolm Brogdon. I like him, but he's not a pure 2. He's not a pure 1. He's not a Clay. He's not a Chris Paul. He's a 16.3 assist. Gets along with LeBron well. Is that crazy?
I think he's worth it for the Lakers because in the way that salary would be structured, if it is 4 years, $105 million, the first 2 years of that salary would be around $12 million and $14 million.
Reasonable.
Yes, so it's not until the third year where it gets into over $20 million, and that's where it gets challenging. You hope he's better by that third year, but I think the first 2 years of that contract for the Lakers, you're still investing in his development. That's a very reasonable number for them to have against their cap and still retain flexibility with everything else that they want to do this summer. There's the Bruce Brown rumors that, trickled out yesterday from Mike Singer. So
okay, you tell me. Bruce Brown or Austin Reeves tomorrow?
Both.
Oh, come on. You can't give me that.
I want both. I want both because I think you can get both. You can match on Austin Reeves, and you still have the mid-level exception that you can offer to Bruce Brown.
I like Bruce Brown.
Yeah, I love him. I think both of those guys together, you're talking about guys who like to play with LeBron. Reeves has that feel for the game. So does Bruce Brown.
He does.
They're both selfless guys.
Are they kind of similar players? Do you think they're talent-wise they're kind of the same?
I think Reeves brings more playmaking. Brown's more of that, tough, hard-nosed defender, cutter, off-ball guy. But both of them can play with and without the ball, and you want that flexibility.
Okay, J-Mac, did you I got rid of the Mac McClung comp. Are you now satisfied that I see him as a 16-point a game, 3.5 assist, play well with LeBron guy?
I think the upside's even higher than that. Look at the postseason, Colin. This was his first postseason, and he emerged as I think he shot 56% from 3 against the Nuggets.
You think he's going to duplicate that?
I don't think he's going to duplicate that, but I don't think 40% from 3 is outlandish. I mean, the Mac McClung stuff was straight up disrespectful. You owe Reeves an apology.
Hey, no shade at Mac McClung on this show.
I mean, he's a dunker,
He's a great
but Austin
dunker.
Reeves can do more than that. He can initiate offense, right? I mean, great defender. He can guard probably three positions.
I worry about this, too. J.R. Smith for a while was great with LeBron. So was Matthew Dellavedova. They were great with LeBron.
Kevin, take it away. Come on.
LeBron, in game 1 of the NBA playoffs against the Grizzlies, didn't defer to J.R. Smith. He deferred to Austin Reeves to run the half-court offense to get them a win on the road against the Grizzlies. Like, that never happened with J.R. Smith. LeBron was always angry with J.R. Smith. Austin Reeves is a stabilizer, and I'm with Jason. Like, I think he can. There's more to his game that he can develop into.
You're marginalizing me as anti-Austin Reeves. I believe I'm just bringing some common sense to the could create cap issues. I'm like, that's a cap issue.
I mean, Kevin, wasn't Kyle Lowry making like $27 million this year or some insane number?
Yeah.
Like, there's guys out there worse than Reeves making more money. The NBA salaries are crazy.
Well, those are older guys who have. I mean, I get that.
Yeah, they're like anchored to that higher number.
Yeah.
Like there's a chance D'Angelo Russell makes more than Austin Reeves next year because he's kind of anchored to that $30 million number, and he shouldn't. Reeves is the better player today than D'Angelo Russell.
I would no. That's the way to say it. I would take Reeves over D'Lo tomorrow, over Malik Beasley, obviously. I would take him over Alex Caruso, who people like because he's a bigger athlete.
Yeah.
Okay, but what about the kids from Miami, Kevin? Strus and Vincent. Would you rather make a move on one of them or keep D'Angelo Russell with the Lakers? That's a little tougher.
Oh, no, that doesn't matter. That's not. I thought you were going to say Austin Reeves or those guys.
No. Because this is realistic. These Miami guys are free agents.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be tough to sign them. Like, you'd have to use your mid-level, and then in that case, you're out on Bruce Brown. I'd rather go for Bruce Brown than Vincent and some of those options.
Okay.
Personally.
Okay, so where do you fall? This is, I have a soft spot. I love Dame. And I worked in Portland, and I really like him. But, man, is it an eye roll when I hear, hey, we're just going to build a winner around Dame. And I'm like, Memphis won't have that drama, and with Marcus Smart, they'll probably be better. Phoenix is going to be better. Denver's going nowhere. Warriors are going to reboot to be more efficient. And you start looking at the West, and I'm like, okay, guys, let's reality pill. Do you believe today, better than 50% chance, Dame will inevitably be moved?
I'd say over 50 at some point over the next calendar year, whether it's the summer, the trade deadline. My conspiracy theory here with Portland is that they don't want to trade Dame today because what Miami can offer is not that great. It's, multiple, future picks. It's Tyler Hero's inflated salary or the Kyle Lowry expiring. It's just not great value for a guy that just had his career best season. So I think the Blazers want to drag this out, take it into the season, see if they can improve the team. Maybe they're much better than expected, and they want to go the 2 timelines route with all their young guys coming off the bench, and maybe Shaedon Sharpe makes a leap.
Yeah.
But I think they want to drag it out because then if you're Portland, from your perspective, you give yourself time to figure it out and get better offers come deadline time or next summer.
That makes Kevin O'Connor listening on the show today. That makes sense because last year Sharpe averaged 9.5, almost 10, and Simons averaged about 20. So the truth is, if they take the expected leap as kids, and Simons goes to 23.5, and Sharpe goes to 13,
or even maybe 17, 18 if the opportunity's there, because he was great to close.
It's a way better trade.
Sure,
that's interesting. Mm-hmm. That's a good way. Common sense over here.
Okay,
he talked me into Austin Reeves, and he weighed heavily on my mind on that one.
So, Kevin, in that scenario, what is Scoot Henderson doing?
Because he's not going anywhere.
No, he's riding the bench.
Well, and that's why I think with Portland, you draft Scoot Henderson, the writing's kind of on the wall with what you want to do in the future, and that's eventually at some point you're moving on from Damian Lillard. There's no way you can survive with 2 6'2" guards. We saw that with McCollum for years.
And Simons is 6'3".
He's small. Yeah. I mean, I think one of those 3 guys at least needs to be moved if you're going to actually seriously compete in the playoffs next year. It's just not. It's not realistic. You're going to get it killed on the boards.
Okay, Victor Wembanyama. He's going to get a shot, but he is really thin, like Chet Holmgren level, but he's got the bag. He's got all the stuff. Give me, what will we be saying if I bring you on 1 year from today? You will be saying what about his rookie year?
He's as special as we thought he was. Assuming he stays healthy. I mean, that's the only concern with any young guy. But I just think defensively he's going to come in, turn that Spurs team into, one of they're going to be in the top half of the NBA in defense because of Wembanyama, the difference he makes. And then offensively, all eyes are now going to be on the Spurs. It's not just Wemby. They have a lot of good supporting pieces. Devin Vassell is a go-to scorer. Keldon Johnson is a really tough, hard-nosed, downhill guy on offense. Jeremy Sohan. I love their second-round pick, Sidi Sissoko. There's good supporting pieces for the Spurs to make them kind of this year's, Utah or Oklahoma City, that young team that outperforms what everybody expected. And Wemby, offensively, the big question with him is going to be, is he going to be shooting threes at a knockdown level, or will he be a sub 30% guy next season? If that three is knocked down, if he continues improving on the trajectory he's on, he could be a brilliant, all-time rookie season. If the offense isn't there, he'll be more of an at-rim finisher type. I just look forward to seeing where his offense grows, but there's no questions that defensively he's going to make a dramatic impact right away.
I think it'll be hard to be super efficient offensively just because from one game a week, like European style, to just the treadmill of games. They always see about game 60, they all hit a wall. Now, Zion didn't because Zion was such a big, strong man body, but most rookies hit that wall. You play 35 college games, it's regional travel. You go to 82, it's national travel. So I think he's going to be brilliant, but I do think the efficiency stuff. My theory on him and Chet Holmgren, 60 games, 58 games, because of the body type. And just go, don't worry about Rookie of the Year award. He's going to win a lot of those, a lot of awards. I would put him on a game restriction because I do think that body type, we've got a precedent for it. Is that crazy?
Yeah, I think with those guys, you do want to be cautious. I mean, Chet was, physically ready to return late in the season last year for the Thunder, but it didn't make sense to bring him back, mid-season. You want to be very careful with these guys with their unusual body types. And, Victor Wembanyama, he didn't get hurt at all this past season for Mets 92. Played every game. He had one game where he went out early, but other than that, he was perfectly healthy. So I think with him, you want to be cautious. But so hopefully he's past the injuries he had at a younger age. But I think for the Spurs, I mean, what are they? They are the creators of load management. They're going to be cautious with him.
That's a good point. Kevin O'Connor, the Ringer. Say hi to Bill. Great seeing you as always, my man.
Thank
Love
you,
having
Colin.
you in studio. We have to drag J-Mac. He shows up 30 seconds before the show goes on. This guy's here a half hour early. That J-Mac is a true professional. 30 minutes early, he's about talking to the staff.
Just admit it. I have a lot of Jordan Poole in me, okay? And I'm going to start cracking jokes the way
I will not rush over there and
denigrated
deck
Draymond
you,
Green.
but you can be an